Hello, welcome again to another exciting conversation today on Sustainability Now podcast. We hope you've been having a good time with the previous conversations we've had. We appreciate your comments and engagement so far with these conversations. We believe they're very important and pivotal for the future, right? And that's the reason we're having these conversations. So today we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic. I said exciting because it's really exciting looking at what we're going to be talking about today, linear and circular economy. I'm sure these are not new words. These are words that we hear, even if not often, we've heard it over and over again. What is a linear economy and what is a circular economy? So today we're going to try to look at what a linear economy is, what a circular economy is, and try to see the benefits that each presents and the shortfalls, for each of them. Why we should, maybe consider focusing on more on a circular economy, or if it's a linear economy that really works, which of them would it be at the end of this conversation? So the goal of the conversation today is to look at both aspects and, try to look at the benefits and reasons to focus on one model over the other. So we hope that at the end of the conversation today, we're going to have rich and great insights and also insights from you, which we're always excited to hear. And like always, I'm here with my friend Odunayo Olise. So we're going to get started and looking at linear and circular economy. So I would like, I would like you to start. Then I would chip in.
Okay, so welcome again. And starting off, we have linear and circular economy. We'll start from the bad to the good, right? So linear economy is the prevalent manufacturing model and pattern that we have generally around the world. That is the pattern that most manufacturers employ. So how is it linear? Linear in the sense that it is sourcing raw materials, production, and dispersed to consumers. That's all. They produce, they sell, make money, produce, sell, make money. And the way it is linear is that's not the end of a production cycle. What do consumers do with the byproducts of their purchase? Do you understand? Are manufacturers interested in the byproduct of their purchase, the aftermath of, oh, we sold the produce, the customers got them, they used it, they enjoyed it. Okay, so what happens? Because there is no manufacturer that does not have end user byproduct at the end of the day, right? So that is where the question mark is. That is why, or that is how it is linear, because it is open-ended. Nothing is done once the consumer purchase. But on the other hand, we have circular economy. Circular economy is a model where the producers source raw materials, they do product design, right, on how their products can be reintegrated back into society. They do a product design, how, they can get it back at a cost effective. You bought jam, you finish eating your jam. Are they coming back to pick it up? How are they coming back to pick it up? Are they telling you, once you purchase now, on your next purchase, you get a discount if or when you bring back your empty jar? Do you understand? So that's like a closed ended, because they didn't just only produce, they thought about what will happen to the end product of our purchase, of our order, when customers have ordered them. That way, they are held responsible. They are picking up a responsible production line. It's not just, we don't produce, so it no concern me waiting remain. Do you understand? Day your day, make I day my day. That's not healthy. That's not the way, the environment will thrive. The way the environment will thrive is based on the latter form of production, when producers are mindful of the byproduct of their production and they encourage customers to follow through that process to curb down on waste.
Okay, so with this now, you're already stating that the circular economy obviously is a model that we should adopt over the linear economy, right? Because the linear economy is producing more waste, right? And there's this level of low responsibility with the linear model.
So there's no
No
response.
responsibility
There's
at
no
all.
responsibility.
Interesting. So
It's not that it's low.
I want us to establish that fact. So no responsibility.
Wait, let me cut
with-
you.
Yeah.
You said low. I said no. Think of all the products you've been using. Is there any producer that tells you what to do with their product after you order it? Yes, some of them put the recycling logo, but they just put it there for sanction's sake, probably so that they are not sanctioned or anything. But did they tell you in their marketing scheme, did they tell you what you're supposed to do? Have they come back to say, oh, okay, after this, after that, we are here, oh, we have a store here, bring back
Of course not.
left, we'll take it, we'll recycle.
Yeah, of course not. So there was a reason I used the word low initially, right? But I think no responsibility makes sense as well, because we see the fact that products are being made, and after being used, nobody takes responsibility. Even the consumer themselves don't even take responsibility to how it is disposed, right? So it's just disposed of, which is generating more pollution. So that model does not create on the long run, it creates more problem than solution. Because what it's leading to is we're solving the needs of this generation without considering the needs of the future generation. That's technically what linear model will lead to in the long run.
That's how we are.
Yes.
Where we are
That
right now.
yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So, but the circular economy now, we're trying to keep resources in use for a long time, right? And get as much value as possible from those resources, thereby reducing waste and pollution. And this is creating responsibility for both the producer and the consumer. Right. Yes, definitely. It's going to create more jobs. We'll get there. I want us to take it slowly, right? So we'll get there to where it creates more job. I just want us to make it as distinct as possible, linear and circular, what it is, right? So we've established that linear is the model where resources come in, manufacturers produce. After production, nobody takes responsibility on how the end product, goes with the consumer, and the consumer themselves don't take any responsibility. It's just after use, they dispose of. Regardless of the product, whether electronics, e-waste, even organic waste in a way has its effect. Then we have plastic waste and all of that. We're going to categorize them later on. But the linear model, we're saying there's a responsibility both from the producer as well as the consumer, where we're trying to maximize the materials over and over, get as much value as possible, creating, like she said, more jobs, which is what it is. We're going to explain how that works in practice. So that is what makes it distinct. No responsibility for linear model with high pollution and waste. But with the circular model, circular economy, there is a lot of responsibility on both parties, producers and consumers, low pollution and waste generated, and then more value that we're getting from the materials we're using. So now, what I want you to look at or talk about would be now that we've established that the circular economy is the way to go, right? It's a better model than the linear model. What are the benefits? Let's look at the benefits of the circular economy. Let's try to expand on that.
Okay. The benefit of circular economy is such that it's very wide. It includes more specialization for employers, for manufacturers. Before, if you just had the manufacturing team, the delivery team, and then the retail team, now you have to include post retail, right? What happens when we've retailed, when we've sold the product. And then at the point of designing, you also have to consider how are we going to reintegrate all of the byproducts of our designs from whatever industry. Because if you don't add it in design thinking, when it's time to reintegrate it, there will be a problem. It will be like you're starting all over again. But if that has been planned and considered at the point of design thinking, do you understand? It's going to be easier to reintegrate it, right? And also there will be a section where consumers are educated. Everyone knows what to do. Every point of action is properly communicated to those who are involved, who will be involved, who are meant to take steps, who are meant to take actions, right? That way, the loose ends are less. So we're able to tie it up and say, okay, you did this, you did this, you did this. If there is a gap anywhere, we know who to hold responsible, right? Because at that point, the gap will be there. If it's on the consumer part, if it's on the manufacturer part, or whoever is the middleman in between. Do you understand? And I would like to digress. The reason this is very important is if we take a look at the ecology, normal cycles that we have in the world, water cycle, everything cycle, life cycle, they are all cycles. Respiratory cycle, hydrogen cycle. There is no new water, there is no new soil, there is no new plant. The environment itself, without human interference, is structured in such a way that it regenerates itself. Every life is interdependent, every life is connected, and then the end of one is the beginning of another. But if we look at what the linear has been, you just produce and go, you use and go. What happens is not your business. And that is why we have most of the problems of pollution and waste that we have across industries. So circular economy is calling us to take action. It's calling us to be aware. It's calling us to be informed, not just to buy and use, not just to produce, right? But to have a full cycle design from start. So everybody knows what they are supposed to do and the consequences of what they are not doing. I don't think you want a world where when you have kids, your kids have to buy the air that they breathe. That will be a lot. Or the value of water now, to get 1 liter of water, clean, good water to drink, you'll be paying 1 million. I know that's extreme, but
I hope we don't get there.
I hope if we start taking steps now, we probably will not get there. But if we don't take steps, it's just a matter of time. I mean, we've seen movies where clean water is expensive and only who knows who are able to afford it. So all of these things are quite possible if necessary steps are not taken to curb and retrace our actions.
Yeah, definitely. I think another advantage of the circular model is apart from how it reduces scarcity of resources in a way, is the fact that because we are maximizing the resources we have over and over, we are giving nature more time to
heal.
replenish.
Even the rate at which you mine and harvest is not as much because you are recycling the old one. So there is like a longer time in which the earth recuperates. Or if you used to go to the farm every 14 days, because you are recycling now, probably you are doing 21 days.
Exactly. So thinking it gives this great perspective about future thinking about how do you sustain things, how do you keep it on the long term and not just for now, right? So it helps a great deal in that aspect. So another aspect, the circular model works again is in jobs, right? Innovation in aspect of providing more jobs. So in practice or in practical terms, if you can give maybe an illustration, that would really be amazing.
Okay, giving an illustration, I'll use fashion industry because that I have,
I know
years.
fashion. I didn't want you to use recycling, actually, right? So fashion is great.
Yeah, because fashion. So imagine there is a fashion house,
Yeah.
they produce their wares, right? And then the consumer on the other hand, they come, they buy. You wear it for 1 year, 2 years, you're tired of it, and it's just in your wardrobe, right? And that's linear. You give it out, you burn it, you discard it. It's none of the fashion house's business. But let's say the fashion house adopts circular mindset now, right? At the point of before even production, they consider the longevity of the textile that they will be used in constructing your garment. They see, oh, is it one that will give us a long time value for all that is being invested, or is just like a short-term product at the end of the day. So for long-term value products, you tell your customers, oh, okay, if you want it for 2-3 months or 2-3 years and you're tired, bring it back. We'll refurbish it. Maybe the hand is worn out because it's exposed to sun. We can change the style and then resell it at a discount to our customers. Do you understand? Or probably completely dismantle it and create something entirely new. And it will be labeled recycled brand. Maybe the company will have like a sub brand where they sell recycled product at a discounted price. Do you understand? Or even give back to the underserved community. Do you understand? Or there are some high-end brands that their pieces are so high and then they have customers that really want to wear them, right? If you're employing a circular model, you tell your customers, bring it once you're tired, we'll switch it for you, we'll give you discounts on your next purchase. And the clothing that you collect from your existing customers, you fix it. Maybe the button is bad or is out, the zip is worn out, there is a seam loose somewhere. You fix it up and then sell at a discount to your customers that probably couldn't afford it when it was a new design. Do you understand? Imagine a fashion house now selling their 2019 design now at maybe 20%. They'll still make sales. It is not a loss for them because the things they fixed on that item is not so much. You change the button, it's not so much. You understand? And for a high-end brand, say high-end 1 million, 1.2, 1.5, at 20% that you're selling, that's still 200,000. The cost of refurbishment is not even up to that if we're being mindful. And some of these products, say jeans, typical jeans, right? Let's use jeans as the textile choice. Jeans can be upcycled into a tote bag. I've seen designs where people turn it into a duffel bag that they traveled with. Yes, it's old for you to wear, but it's not old for it to be changed into something else. You can turn it into a doll, stuffed doll. So many, 1,001 things that can be done, and you will still make your money. But instead of it laying idle, and because of the production process, some of these materials are not able to disintegrate back into the soil. So you discover that for years they are there. Nothing is going on. But that circular model, you've increased the shelf life. You've given it another life, another value. Probably they want it for 10 years, they are not wearing it again. You are changing it, you are working on it. You've given it another 10, 15 years. That way, you've increased the time value that it would have spent before it ends up as a waste or ends up at the dung site. Maybe it was after that 10 years now, you bought another 5 years or 10 years, depending on the type of products that you were able to come up with. You get. So imagine that process. And after that again, maybe when those people have used it, you can bring it back. Creativity, not the end. It will just put pressure on the design team, the recreation team to come up with something. You can come up with rope. It is unending as long as your team brings their A game and they are thinking, their head is working. There will be something to turn products into. So that's way to turn things into circular economy and, give incentives, redesign products, think of a way to reintegrate those products back into the society, letting your customers know, or you also as a brand taking up the responsibility. It cuts across brand, not just fashion, even electronics. Imagine there's a center per country or per state where when you take your used electronics to, because you don't want them again, they buy it off you and then they are recycled and used as spare parts or reintegrated. You can't tell me that when an electronic spoils, it is all the parts that is condemned, except probably it was in water or it was in a fire incident, right? So you take it there, they buy it off you, and then those things, the companies that the main manufacturing, they come back, they pick it up, right? And they take it back, they work on them. The ones that are completely bad, they fix it, they change it, or they use them as spare parts when producing new sets of products. So it's just, the willingness, the understanding of the impacts, and then the willingness to integrate the concepts is not, yes, it might be capital intensive. It's okay for it to be capital intensive now, but subsequently is worth it. Right? The other day I was talking about the post. I said cheap and affordability is the enemy of sustainability. Because the fact that it's cheap doesn't mean it's sustainable. The fact that you can easily access it now, you can easily use it now, it doesn't mean it's sustainable. It doesn't mean it's good for the environment. And what is not good for the environment is not good for everybody.
Exactly. That's what it is. I think I absolutely agree. We'll come to the last statement you just made. But before we go there, you were already getting into the conversation I wanted us to look at next. I absolutely agree. Then seeing how, with the illustration you gave now, showing how it generates more creativity for the sector, right? Because they begin to get more creative with what they are doing, knowing that we are not just making this without, and most times when they consider, imagine a fashion brand who is having to factor in the fact that they are going to buy back this material from their customer, they will do work for knowing that
it's still coming back to them, and they will need to make their job easier when it gets back.
So it creates a sense of responsibility for them to do good work, knowing it's going to come back to them. But because they don't even know how those clothing end up or what the customer would do with it at the end of the day. Trust me, almost every single one have clothes they are no longer having to use, but don't even know what to do with them, right?
It's just there in the wardrobe.
It's just there.
Marking time.
You get, but if there is this system of returning these things and having to recreate something different, I'm sure people would definitely subscribe into it. So it looks nice, what we just explained. It looks easy, right? But the question is, why are companies not adopting it? Because like you mentioned a bit of it saying it's capital intensive. Because for me, I think companies do not want to adopt it because for them, it seems like another business on its own and like a distraction from their major source of income, right? Hold on. It seems like a distraction from their major source of income. So if this model would be, if it's going to be adoptable, it has to make some form of economic sense for the brands to actually be able to adopt it. Because I'm trying to imagine why do brands not adopt this model? Why most times they don't even want to do it. They would rather engage a different company in charge of, because what I'm seeing, I don't think I've seen any fashion brand doing this, like a fashion brand do this, but I've seen businesses who own fashion recycling brand. Their focus is to get old clothing and convert them into new new products of value. But you rarely find the producers themselves engage in this art. So I'm trying to look at what are the reasons, what's hindering these brands from having to engage in this sort of practice? Is it because there's no economic value in it for them, or it distracts them from their major business? Then I think that conversation will lead us to your last comments, which I would like us to talk about before we end this episode.
Okay, first, I'd like to say that, our thinking is different when you are not held responsible for something.
Yeah.
If you're held responsible for something, you'll figure a way out of it. You think it through. You put your team together, you put resources and find the solution. So first off, I would say that because it has not been a priority, right? That's why companies shy away from it. It's not that it's not doable. It's not that it's not profitable. It's not that it's not employable. It is. But they've not been held responsible for it. Government have not held them responsible for it. Private organizations have not been held responsible for it. So they've been getting away with it. That's why they have not sat down to consider it. Think about the most complex things you've ever heard of. People figured it out. So it's not that it's not doable. Yes, it's capital intensive because it's labor intensive. You spend more time deconstructing before you construct something else. But that's why it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And you're going to pay for it. It's not giveaway. It's not charity. So it's not like, oh, come. And mind you, for some of them, that's why I said it takes a lot of creativity. Some products, they may not be completely reconstructed. You might just need to tweak something, remove something to add something, and you're done. You're not just going to the market to buy. You're not just doing construction of the whole design, right? You're just changing something. In the case of you completely designing, of course, the money will be charged for it. I'm sure you've seen pieces online where the old clothes were completely dismantled and then they made something entirely new. The jeans I was talking about, I've seen products where they used different parts of a jean and they used it to construct a brand new. You wouldn't even tell that it was the same product. If you see the before and the after, you cannot tell the similarity. You can just tell, okay, the fabric is jean. You wouldn't know whether they are new. You wouldn't know whether they are old. And it's not giveaway. And even if it's giveaway, you are doing your CSR. You are doing your CSR. And it's coming cheap for you because you don't have to go purchase new clothing items to give out to these people. Yeah. They are what your customers used and returned to you. Remember that you already charged premium for these products before. Yeah. So it's not entirely a loss. Right? Yeah. And the teams that will be handling these things, they will be paid. They know that that's what they're... See, in the industry, I know tailors that they are good with alterations. They don't even like making new clothes from the beginning. Just give them clothes to alter and they'll do it. You will even prefer the altered version to the new version. So people have different specialties. Look for people who are doing what you want to do and employ them. Yeah. And even if they are not doing it, you can train them. That's, there's the idea of catch them young. And if it's a new business, there's no harm in training people. There's no harm in looking for industry experts, people who already know what you're doing, rub minds together and develop a plan and pattern that will work for your company. How do we want to adopt this model? There's no hard and fast track to it. It's not cast on stone. Yeah. It's flexible. It's the end goal that will determine what the processes that you're going to employ. So how are you integrating these end goals into your businesses? And then you take it up from there. Yes, I mentioned earlier that it's capital intensive. For companies that are into other types of products, yes, because imagine you have to bear the cost of logistics. There is a collection point for the end use of your product and then you have to transport it back. I wouldn't completely agree with that, because the raw material you're buying too, you're also transporting it from somewhere. So it's just a matter of you rethinking and re-strategizing how to manage the cost.
Yeah.
Because you're still going to buy raw material. Which one is better? Completely starting with a raw material or a product that, take glass jars for example. Are you telling me that when companies pick up their glass jars, they are starting all over? They're not starting all over. They'll probably disinfect, wash, clean, and then use again. And most of the time, most of these things are, let's even say 50% of them are good. So imagine cutting down your budget by 50% when sourcing for raw material, because this one is already there. If it's not feasible, Coca-Cola wouldn't have been doing it. I remember growing up as a child, Coca-Cola used to pick up bottles and then they'll wash and then they'll refill.
And it was a healthy habit.
It was a healthy habit.
For consumers understood it, and
You know that you deposit money
yes,
now. You deposit
was
your change
seamless.
until you return the bottle.
All of a
But
sudden,
actually, I
everything
understand that for some of these things is weight.
yeah,
Do you understand? Is weight, because of the products with which they are made.
yeah,
They have weight. The reason plastic sold and plastic is still thriving is because it's solving the product of weight.
weight,
Right?
weight, yeah.
But then there is always a way around it.
Yeah.
If we sit down to find a solution,
Mm.
it is solvable.
Yeah, so it's a design problem, which I believe during the setup of those businesses, the design for sustainability was
Wasn't
never
considered.
factored. It was never factored in. It was never considered. So it's becoming complex now because we're trying to integrate sustainability into a design which
Wasn't considered.
never considered before. But I'm sure it is very possible, just like you said. Once the design from the onset for every business operation considers sustainability, considers a circular model, it's very, very possible to get those. So we would balance this because it's two ways, right? We're looking at it from the producers now, the manufacturer's perspective. We're going to look at it from the consumer's perspective as well, so that we can balance this out, because the manufacturer and the consumer, whether we like it or not, have to work hand in hand for this to be possible. Without that mutual responsibility, it's going to be a difficult process to deal with. So both parties need to have knowledge, understanding, and be willing to collaborate to actually make this work. Like the instance of the Coca-Cola bottle, the producers made this, consumers understood this, so it wasn't even an issue or an argument. Once we're done taking our drink those days, we're going to definitely returning the bottle is a part of the routine. So you must return the bottles, and the company comes back with their truck, takes those bottles to process again, make new products. So once that understanding is back there, we're going to definitely achieve success. Then the other aspect I would like us to close with on this episode is where you mentioned that cheap and affordability is the enemy of sustainability, which I absolutely agree. Because recently I've been speaking and talking to entrepreneurs, startup founders, people, innovators, people who are thinking about new products, new innovations into the market, into the economy, into the system. And I always ring this into their mind. Price is not the only way you can be competitive or good. Like reducing your price. You drop your price, if you start from there, that you want to just crash your price, you want to reduce the price for this, that's the only reason you're doing this, it backfires, because at the end of the day, you're pressured to only focus on price points.
Profit margin.
Exactly. Profit margin would only be your focus.
That's the focus for linear.
Exactly.
Linear people
Linear model
are
pricing.
profit
So
oriented.
the best way is look at what's the problem for the people, holistically understand the problem, and profile a solution that is sustainable from the very beginning. Then after that design, we can begin to deal with the bottleneck of trying to adjust prices, but let it provide value for both humans, the environment, and the economy. If it meets these three criteria, that is providing value for humans, is providing value for the economy, is providing value for the environment, then any price point where it's valuable at that price point. So value, for me, I would want to see value as meeting these three criteria. If your product is able to meet these criteria and not cause any harm in any way, then it's valuable. Not just dropping down the price and looking at how to scale it, because people drop down price and try to produce, say, 1 million copies of that product so that they can be profitable, and nobody is considering how they are going to deal with the waste that is going to come from this production or from the process of what they are doing. So I think it's when you made that statement, it's like immediately I picked it because I have been hinging on it lately. Because that's also the fight even with renewable energy. The fact that it's capital intensive, but on the long run, when we look at the long run, it's cheaper. There are researches, there are publications that have proven over and over that on the long run is way cheaper than fossil fuel. So why are we not adopting, those model and everything? It's just because we want to do what's convenient, actually.
We don't want to bear the initial cost.
Exactly.
And we want to enjoy the profit and everything.
Just enjoy the profit now, but then we're not considering how it's going to affect tomorrow. So I think it's very important to think sustainability first in design. That's what I'm getting from.
Every company needs to have like a sustainability team. While having a product, what will be the sustainability side?
From the very beginning.
Cooking, food, fashion, engineering. And because every company interfaces with the environment. So you cannot tell me that you are not held responsible for something that you are actively contributing to. A lot of companies, no, we are not in geography, we are not in farm, we are not in agri. But you are on the land, you are on a piece of land, you are driving a car. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You are using paper, you are using a form of electronics. Was it from the moon that was it from the moon that they were mined?
Yeah.
Is it not from the environment? And then the waste too is directly contributing to the environment. So you cannot tell me that you cannot be held responsible for something that you are directly contributing to. Yeah. And it's something everybody needs to know. School, children, parents, adults, we interface with the environment every day. So being informed on how to better handle and treat the environment is not meant to be a hard something.
It's supposed to be our way of life. So in the next episode, we'll delve into waste, the types of waste. Then we will look at how we can maximize resources in order to minimize waste. So we look forward to that episode, and we're also looking forward to your comments. What are your thoughts about the circular economy? Do you think it's the best model to go with?
We'll be in the comment sessions answering your questions and then providing more perspective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.